Hi guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to make my blue flame necklace. So you're going to need some colours of clay, and any colours are up to you. This tutorial is very versatile, but today I'm using souffle, so refer to the supplies for the types and colours that I am using. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with our two blues, and we're going to turn them into a skinner blend. So you'll just grab each and you'll just mold them into a triangle. If you have trouble with skinner blends, you might want to look into my skinner blend triangles. You don't necessarily need them, but they do make skinner blends a lot easier. So if you're having trouble with them, do have a look at those. They are on my Etsy shop, Jessima Design. But if you're good with skinner blends, just take your clay and roughly mold it into a triangle like that, and start with the darkest blue, work your way to the lightest one, and then you'll make another triangle with a bit of white. And now if you're wondering how much clay I'm using a small block of souffle, and I'm using, so in each block of souffle you get four segments. So this is two of those four segments, and I'm using two of these segments for this colour, two of those segments for this colour, and one segment for this colour. And the same for the purple, I'm using two segments, one segment, and then for each you're going to need one segment of black, one segment of white, one segment of black, one segment of white. So hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, I'm going to turn these three into triangles, and these three into triangles too. Okay, so I've done the two skinner blends. Here's the blue one, and here's the purple one. And so now what we want to do is we want to make skinner blend plugs with them. So what we're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to fold it, and then you're going to fold it again so that it's nice and thin. And just tuck in all these little bits and pieces so that it's nice and neat. And we're going to stretch out this skinner blend. So just gently tuck in all of these ends and make it all nice and neat. Squish out any air bubbles. Okay, and you'll do the same for the other one. And then what you will do is you'll run this through the pasta machine from thin end to thin end. Okay, so I've finished up the skinner blends, and so you can see that they're quite long. Now I've changed my mind and I would like to actually make a skinner blend bullseye. So what I'm going to do with each one of these skinner blends is I'm going to start from the side that has the white, because I always have white, and I'm just going to roll. And I'm going to just continue rolling up the skinner blend until I have no more skinner blend left. Okay, so I have my skinner blends over here, and I also have my black and white rolled out as well. And this was rolled out on my thickest setting. And I'm just going to wrap this with the white once. And I'll just gently tap along the edge there, and then trim away the excess. There we go. And I will do the same with the black. And if you're wondering what that noise is in the background, the wind's really blowing today. So sorry about that. And I'll wrap that around. Okay. And then I'll just trim away the excess. And do the same with the purple one too. And then I'm just going to trim this end because I need to trim that for the skinner blend anyway. we go. And so you should have a white and black ring around it. That looks really nice. Okay, so now I'm going to go do that with the purple one. Okay, and so now I have got 2 bullseye canes. Now what we want to do is we want to cut them in half. Right down the center. So you should be able to see that line going across like that. Okay. And then just gently pinch these edges and start to press it into a square cane. Like that. And you want to reduce each of them down so you can cut out multiple pieces from them. And you'll do that with both bullseye canes. So just press it into a square before trying to reduce, and just make sure that you've got that done properly so that you are able to reduce it evenly. There we go. And then you want to reduce those down so that you can cut out about 5 from each piece. So 5 from there, 5 from there. So you want at least 10 from each bullseye cane. Okay, and I have reduced these down. So now I'm going to cut out 5 parts from each. Or possibly even more than 5 parts. We'll see. And then we will create our flame cane. And now I've named it a flame cane simply because of the fact that it does kind of look like that, but because of the colours we're using, it's not exactly going to look like flames. So if you want that, then you'll have to work with some oranges and reds and yellows. But the actual pattern that is achieved looks like a flame. Okay, so I ended up with quite a bit more than 5. Ended up with 7. That's fine. Okay, so now separate it out into blues and purples, because you don't want the purples with the blues. There we go. And we'll start with the blue, and then we'll do the same with the purple. So you'll take each one and just squish it down into almost like a petal shape, like that, and squish it down a bit more, just like that. You see? And do the same with all of the other ones. You'll just squish the bottom into a point and then squish the top along with it. Okay. And then just chop off the ends. So they're nice and clean. And now I'm just showing you with 2. We will do this with all of them, all of the blue ones. We'll put them together just like this. See? And then continue to squish these down and put them together into a large rectangle. Okay, and so you can see these 2 have been done. So now what we want to do is we want to reduce them once they're all pressed together. So just grab them from each side and press. And just remember to tap it down and just keep it in a nice rectangle shape. And the pieces are going to get distorted. They're not going to stay all the same shape, which is exactly what we want. You want to squish it down. And this is also something that can be used as a petal. I've seen quite a few people use this sort of cane as a base for a petal, so it can be called a petal cane as well, I guess. Okay, so you can see I've got it down now into a rectangle. There we go. And then I'm just going to chop this end off and this end off. Okay, and here is what it looks like. So it's quite pretty. So just leave that the way it is and repeat with this one. Okay, so here are our two canes. And you can see they look really pretty. And so now we are going to use them in our project. So all the little leftover pieces that you have, keep these because we're going to use them. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create some lentil beads. So I'm just going to take these cane ends that I have. I'm just going to grab one and roll it into a ball. And I'll do the same for this one. And I'm actually just going to cut this one in half because I don't think I need a ball too big. So just grab that and that one. There we go. So you just want them to be the same size. Then take your cane and slice off some pieces. There you go. And now there's lots that you can do with this cane. You can put it together like that, which is probably what we'll be doing later. You could put it together like this and it would look quite interesting. You could take it and you could pinch these ends to bring it round into like a petal shape. But for now we're going to be using this one to make a lentil bead. So I'm just gently wrapping this around. Trying to connect it up. Yeah. And that is going to be used to create a lentil bead. And I'm just going to roll it smooth in my hands first. Just like that. And then I'm probably going to start rolling from here. So you're going to need some form of acrylic block, and I'm going to be using the one that I have on my Etsy shop. But you can use any acrylic block you wish. And just start rolling. And just go slowly, you don't want to go too fast. And you always want to be going in the same direction. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to start swirling. So I'm pressing quite firmly. I'm not having a light touch because you're trying to move the clay. So if you're pressing too light, you're not actually going to be moving the clay very fast. So if you want it to go faster, just press a little harder. But if you're pressing harder, I would advise going slow because it just gives you more control. And I'll just continue rolling until I'm happy with the swirl that has been achieved. And then I will create another one just like it. And you want to check the back as well, because you're going to have a swirl on the back too. And so I'm almost there. I'm just trying to get it into the right shape now. Okay, and I'm pretty happy with that. So then I'll take the block and I'll gently press down. I'm just flattening out. Okay. And some of them are going to look better than others, so I would advise making a few. And some sides are going to look better. So that side I prefer to that side. So I'm probably going to use it that way around if I use that one. But I'll make a few and then I will choose the one that I like the best out of all of them. Because that generally is just the best thing to do. Okay, and I'm not going to be making lentil beads out of the blue one. We'll use the blue one for something else in a little while. Okay, so here are the two that I've chosen and that I am happy with. You can see that the backs turned out okay, the fronts are the best, so you'll have to choose which side you like the best. So this one, it turned out a little bit muddy, so I made a few more and they turned out quite well. So you're going to want two of these and just flatten them out into discs like I've shown here and just pop them off to the side for the moment. We'll use them in a little while. Now what you want to do is you want to just take some more leftovers, because you don't want to be using nice clay when you just have these leftovers ready to use. So I'll just roll those out, as you can see. And I'm just going to use this to help me with some things. But you can see you can create some nice things with the leftovers, definitely. Okay, but that is just a piece of leftover clay. And then I'm going to take my blue cane, and I'd advise using the leftovers that are from your specific canes. It just makes life a lot easier. Okay, and just take a slice and one more slice. I just want to get a complete slice. There we are. And then I'm just going to put them together like that on here. Squish them together like so. And I'm just going to use my rolling pin to flatten it out instead of the pasta machine. And then I will use the pasta machine afterwards to help get it just right. I've just got a few little bits here. Okay. Then I'm going to just take this and I'm going to gently stretch it a little bit and put it through the pasta machine, just so that it's nice and even. And now what I want is I want to bring over a hollow bead maker, and I want to position this in the middle so that we are going to create a hollow bead. And so just smooth your clay around it, just like that. And I'm going to bring over a circle cutter. Okay. Just go pop that down again because I don't get it quite in the middle. Just smooth, and I need to get the correct cutter that will fit nicely, and then I'm just going to cut. And then since it's a circle, we can spin to give it a really nice neat edge. And there's your hollow bead. And now we only need one side, because what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put this onto a flat backing. I don't want another dome on the other side. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a few, two more like this in blue, and I'm going to put them on these two circles over here. Okay, and so you can see what these look like now. So just go and give them a quick smooth to make sure that you don't have any fingerprints, because we don't want to have to sand them later, because souffle is a pretty good clay when it comes to not sanding, simply because it has a really nice texture to it, and so sanding never makes it nice and smooth. So I prefer to not sand souffle. So you just want to smooth, get rid of fingerprints, and then pop that in the oven at souffle's recommended temperature for an hour. So I'll do that, and in the meantime what we'll do is we'll take these lentil beads and give them a good smooth. This one needs to be pressed down a little bit more, so I'll just bring over my block and just press a little harder. There we go. Because I want them to be about the same height, so I'll just press them together, and there we go, they should be about the same height now. So just go and smooth them off, and then take a circle cutter and cut them like so, and then just remove the edge, and you'll be left with a nice smooth lentil bead. Okay. And then I'll just grab my tissue blade and gently lift that up. Okay, and I'm not going to worry too much about these edges. I'm just going to go around and give it a slight smooth, and then I'm going to go and put that on a tile in the oven, and I'll bake that along with our other hollow beads. And just once you've got on the tile in the oven, give them another quick smooth on the top. And then those are all our main beads for the project. Now we want to make some small beads. Okay, so now we want to make some small beads. So just grab your leftovers, some of them, and what you want to do is you want to roll this out on your pasta machine's thickest setting, like so, just so that it's all the same thickness. And just take a cutter, small one, and cut out 4 pieces, and then grab some leftovers from your blue one. I've got a few pieces there, and I'm just going to roll that out. There we go. And I'm going to cut out 4 pieces there too. There we go. Okay. And then just move these out of the way, because they're going to make a little bit of mess on your tile and you want to clean it up. There we go. And then take each and just squish it and roll it into a little ball, like so. And then take some of your cane and wrap it around, like so. And then I just need to chop off these ends. And if there's any bits like here, I'm just going to trim. Yeah. Okay, and then the trick is to gently mold this back into a round. And there we are. You have a little round bead. And now I'm going to make a few of these using the blue and the purple, so 4 blue and 4 purple, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to roll them with gloves just to get rid of things like fingerprints. Okay, so I've done each of these, as you can see. Now I've got some gloves on, and I'm just going to take each one and I'm gently going to roll it in my hand, just to get rid of any fingerprints, like so. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to check through to make sure that it's the right shape. If not, then I'll just roll it again. Okay, and then I'm going to put that on a piece of plain printing paper. And then I would do that for all of them, and then I would bake them for an hour at souffle's recommended temperature. And yeah, you can see it's much smoother now. You can also see that it doesn't have any fingerprints and things like that, which is important. Okay, so I finished baking all the pieces. So let me just bring them all over. So there we are, we've got all of these now. Now these ones are basically done for the most part, so we can put those aside. But these we need to finish off a little bit. So first I would like to do these 2 discs. So I'm going to grab a piece of white, just plain white souffle, and I'm going to put these on, and I'm just gently going to press and then lift. And it's just going to give me a little bit of an impression so that I can see what's going on. And then I'm going to cut out each piece. Now I'm just going to work with one to start with. And I'm going to be using some wire because I want to put holes through these, because it's going to be much easier than drilling this, because if you have done some drilling before, you'll know that it takes quite a bit of effort to drill something that is that long. So I'm just going to press that in, and then I'm going to slide that out, so that has created a hole now, or at least a pilot hole. So I'm just gently going to press this on, and I want to get something to texture the back quickly. And I'm just going to use this sponge, and I'm actually going to insert this back in while I am doing that, just so that it keeps the hole there, you know. Okay, and then when I am done, I'll slide it back out, grab my cutter, and I'm going to press down for the first cut, and then I'll press down again. And that was just to make sure that I keep the texture. Okay, oops. And then I'll just push that out to the cutter. And that will give me a mostly clean edge. I just need to go around now and use my finger to smooth. And now don't worry about the edge and how it looks. We will fix that after this is baked using a smear technique. For now, you just want to create a backing. So no matter how neat that it might look on the sides here, that you don't have to worry about. Just make sure that you smooth it, and then once you're done with that, pop your piece of wire back through, just to make sure that you have the hole there. And the hole doesn't have to be perfect because we will be drilling again. It just needs to be there as a pilot hole. and that is how you create those ones. So now I'm going to go and pop those in the oven. Once I've finished, I'm just going to finish up this one too, and then we'll pop them in the oven. Okay, so all of our pieces are out of the oven, as you can see, and so are the beads. So the beads are basically done for the most part, so I'm going to put those off to the side, and we're going to work on these because we need to apply backings to them. So we're going to do these ones first, so just pick one, and then you're going to want a piece of black clay and some plain printing paper to work on. Okay, and I'm just going to gently texture this piece of black using a sponge. You can use any texture you want, but you want to give it a little bit of texture. Okay, and then once you've finished that, it just needs a nice light texture. And then once you've done that, take this and take the cutter that you used with it before to cut it out, so it needs to be the same size, and cut out a circle, and grab a piece of wire and press that into your circle like so, just to hollow out a hole, in so many words. Okay, and then bring over some liquid clay, and any liquid clay will work. I'm just going to be happening to use translucent Fimo today, and just put a little bit on. And the reason I'm doing this is because souffle has a fairly non-stick property to it, so of all the brands you will want this one to have some liquid clay on it if you're joining two layers together, one that is baked and one that is not baked, or if you have two layers that aren't baked. And that's just going to make it nice and sticky. And now I'm just busy cleaning out in here because this one has a little bit of liquid clay in it. I'm just making sure that's all nice and clean. And then I'm going to take the wire out and grab my disc. Place that on top and give it a light press. And now any texture on the back is probably going to get squished, and that's fine. I'll fix that later. For now, I want to press this onto the surface, and then I want to smear the back up and away, any excess. And this is better than using a cutter at this point because it's going to be bonding the pieces together. And now I'm just going to remember where I've placed the hole, which is right there, so that I can slide the wire back in. So the wire is running just along here. And then just go around and smooth. And now the reason I'm going through this much trouble is because drilling this sort of a bead is really hard because of its length. It's just a really, really long bead, and most drill bits aren't even this long, so it just causes lots of trouble when it comes to drilling later on. So I'm putting a hole in before I bake it. So that's a little bit more challenging than actually doing it after it's baked, simply because it's just a bit harder to keep the clay nice and neat. So now I'm going to try and slip my wire back through. Like so. And then I'm going to take it out again and just smooth, because again you can see it creates quite a bit of a mess. And don't worry about the edges, you just want to make them nice and smooth and even. And then as for the colour and stuff and the fact that it's all yucky and smudgy, we're going to take care of that later on. You don't have to worry about the fact that it's looking, the colour's looking untidy. That bit you can leave for the moment. Just get that hole through there. Okay, and then once you've got a hole in, I've actually decided that I don't want texture on the back because it's going to be a little bit more challenging and unnecessary anyway. So I'm just going to smooth off the front here. Because souffle already has a little bit of a texture to itself, so you don't need to worry about putting a texture in, I guess. Okay, I'm fussing, so if you don't like watching me fuss, you can skip forward a little bit. But what I'm doing simply is just making sure that it's all good to go. Okay, and so that's how it's going to look. I'm going to do a smear along the edges later on, but when you place it face down, you should not be able to see any of the black peeking out. If you are, then you need to smooth that part down again. And then you'll repeat with this piece. So I'll go put that off to the side for the moment, and I will do the other piece in a minute. But for the moment, we are going to work with those hollow beads. And I'm just going to place this down, and I'm going to take my largest one and I'm just going to gently press so that I can see what size it needs to be. There we go. And I am working on paper just because it makes it a little bit easier. Okay. And then I'm going to take this and press down. And press down firmly. You want it to be sticking. And we don't have to worry about holes with this one, because since it's hollow, drilling holes is actually really easy. And just lift it off your paper. You have to be very careful because we have a very small, this will lift off very easily when you're working with it. Then take your blade and just trim away excess clay. Like so. And then just use your finger to gently smooth along the edge. And you can see it, this is a much neater and easier way to do it. But if this entire thing was solid, the drilling would be a much harder process. So it's nice that it's hollow. And there we are. We'll just bake that like that, and you'll repeat with these two. So I'll show you what they all look like once I am done putting the backs on. Okay, so I've finished the backs of each of them. So here's this one. And here are the two smaller ones. And then here are these two. See, after a little bit more fussing, I got the backs quite nice and neat. And we're still going to fix up the sides, give them a bit of a sand and a bit of a smear, but for the most part, that's it. So now I'm going to bake those on a piece of plain printing paper for another hour, just to make sure that they are fully baked, and then we can get on with assembling. Okay, and here they all are. So these ones have been baked again, and so here are the backings. You can see they're nice and smooth since they were baked on paper. So now what we want to do is we're going to just do a smear along the sides because they're a little untidy. So just grab a bit of souffle, and I'm choosing to use black because my backing is black. Whatever colour your backing is, that is the colour of the souffle that you're going to use for the smear. Should be. So just warm it up in your hands, which is what I'm doing, because the softer it is, the easier it is to use. Okay. And press really hard against the side, and it should smooth on nice and smooth. And this takes a little bit of practice, and if your clay is hard, it's going to be a lot harder to actually get this technique done. So if your clay is hard, warm it up. If that doesn't work, try adding some liquid clay. If that doesn't work, the last resort would probably be to go and get some Sculpey 3 for this technique only. Sculpey 3 is quite brittle and is not a good clay to use. I don't recommend it at all, but it's nice and soft, and so it will make this technique much easier. So if you're struggling and you can't get it right with any other tricks like warming it up and adding liquid clay, try Sculpey 3. And it's also helpful if you have the Sculpey 3 lying around. It's a great way to use it up. Okay, and then once you're done smearing and you're happy with the cover, just gently smooth your edges. And if you happen to block up the hole, like I haven't blocked up this end, but I have on this end over here, you want to just go with a skewer or a piercing pin and just unblock it. So I'll do that in just a minute. Just make sure you don't get any on the front. And I've just got a pin here. I'm going to pop it through the hole and just clean out that hole and clean up the clay around the hole. And just gently poke the other side so I know where the hole is. And then I'll go in from the other side because it makes less of a mess. Okay. And then just gently smooth. Okay. And just smooth along the top as well. Make sure it's all nice and tidy. And then you'd put this in the oven for about half an hour at souffle's recommended temperature. And then when it comes out, we are going to sand the top here just to get rid of some of this gunk, because it's a little bit smudged and things like that, and sand the back and probably give it a buff with some Renaissance wax. And I will do the same with this one. Now this one is basically the same. You don't have to worry about holes, but you do want to smear the edge, I think. I think it needs that. So you just take your thing and smear it along the edge just like I did with the last one. And I just think the smearing makes it look quite a bit more professional. And then I would basically finish smearing, smooth it off, and I'll pop that in the oven too. So all of them, once they're done, I'll put them in the oven for half an hour, and then when they are done, I will show you the next step. Okay, so while those are in the oven, I want to drill these beads. So just go grab one of them, and I'm going to be using this pin drill, and I'm just going to drill them. I'm going to start one end and work my way to the other end. And this can take a little bit of time, especially when you're working with a solid round polymer clay bead. But you want to start at one end, work a little way through, and then work your way from the other end as well, and then get the two to join up. sometimes if it doesn't, you have to really screw this on properly, because sometimes it can get a little loose because the clay does put a bit of pressure on it. Okay. And I'll just continue drilling until I get to the end. Okay, and I'm just about to break through. There we go. So it just takes a little bit of persistence. And there we go. And I like to drill through from both ends a few times just to clear it out, get it all cleaned out. Okay, and I'll do that with all of our beads, and then when we're done that, we can buff all of them to give them a little bit of a shine. Okay, so I've drilled them all, and now I've just popped them on a piece of wire with a bit of a handle, so it will help me when it comes to buffing them, because I don't want to be holding them while I'm buffing them, and they can spin on the wire. Then I've got some Renaissance wax, and I'm just going to take that and an old polishing cloth, and I'm just going to get that polishing cloth in the Renaissance wax, and I'm going to give these a good coat. Because although we haven't sanded them, it's going to give them almost like a satin sheen, because the Renaissance wax and the buffing gives them a little bit of a shine. So right now, all I'm doing is I'm just popping that Renaissance wax on and just close it because it will dry. And then I've got my Dremel. You can use any rotary tool, but if you're going to have a rotary tool and you're going to buy one, I definitely recommend a Dremel. And I'm just going to switch it on. You might want to turn your sound down because it does get a little bit loud. We go. So hopefully you can see that they have a nice satin finish to them, and that's probably the best shine you're going to get from souffle, whether you sand it or not. So now I'm just going to quickly undo the wire, and I'll take them off, and they will be ready to string once they have dried. You want to leave them about half an hour to dry, and then with the other ones, when they come out of the oven and have cooled, we'll give them a quick sand because some of them are a little bit blurry. They've got a little bit of smudges on them, and then we'll give them a quick buff with some Renaissance wax as well, and then we can assemble. Okay, so I've let these cool, and now we are ready to give them all a sand. These ones are the ones that need it most, but these ones, even along the edge where we have done a little smear, they need to get sanded a bit as well. I wouldn't worry about the backs since they're smooth enough, and you do want to keep that matte effect to them. You just want to make sure that they're nice and smooth. You don't have to worry about sanding it. It's just the front because the colours have got a little bit muddy. So I'm going to grab my polishing papers, and I'm going to start with my 400 grit. So I'm just going to get that one. And I'm going to start with this one. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a really nice sand. And I'm not going to be using any sandpaper that requires water, because souffle has these really tiny pits in it, and if you sand it with sandpaper underwater, I find that all of those get clogged up and then it just shows later on. It looks really not great. So I'm using polishing papers, which don't take off an awful lot of material, but they're not really good to sand underwater. So I wouldn't recommend sanding souffle underwater. So if you're worried about inhaling things, you can use a mask, but it just doesn't come out with a really great result when I use wet dry sandpaper with them. So I'm just going to quickly finish sanding this with the 400 grit, and I just want to show you what it actually looks like once I've got all of those little bits and pieces that were smeared onto it, what it looks like. So obviously it needs to be sanded a little bit more to get down, but it looks a lot cleaner. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to continue sanding this up my grits. So that was the 400, now I'm going to go to 600 and so on up until I reach my 4000. I'm not going to go up to the 8000. Okay, so I've sanded them, and so hopefully you can see that they're quite a bit brighter now. And now we're just going to grab some Renaissance wax and just pop it onto the old polishing paper. And just give it a light rub to get the wax on. And then the buffing wheel distributes it. So you don't have to worry too much about distributing the wax evenly. That gets done by the buffing wheel, so long as you put enough wax onto your piece. There we go. Okay. Now turn down your sound, it's going to be a little noisy. So hopefully now you'll be able to see the difference in the shine. Just by the buffing. So I'm going to continue buffing these, and then we need to drill them, and then we can assemble. Okay, so now we are ready to drill them. So I'm just going to grab my drill bit. And just be careful, you don't want to be pressing hard on this. The wall is fairly thin and it will go through easily. Just be gentle. There we are. And there you can see the hole. And then I just see the hole on this end. Whoops. I need to do it here, and when you're doing this, pinch quite firmly because it helps prevent cracks and things like that when you're drilling, because the thing that the clay wants to do is it wants the two parts want to break apart a little bit when you're drilling, just to relieve that pressure. So by pinching you can see that it avoids cracks. Whereas on this side, where I didn't pinch as hard, you can see that there is a little bit of a crack line. It's not too much of a problem. You can go in and smear again if you want to, but it's not too much of a problem. but I just wanted to demonstrate that because if you're not pinching, you can form a crack line. So I'll do that with the other two quickly. Okay, so next you'll need a piece of black Accu-flex, and I've already done the one end, but I'm going to show you this end. So what we do on this end, you would repeat on that end. But since I already have it made from a previous failed project, I don't want to waste it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have it positioned somewhat like this, to give you an idea. I'm going to have those sitting like that, and then if I bring over my other beads, what we're going to do is we're going to have a purple, then a blue, then a purple, and then a blue, and the repeat on the other side. So let's get started with that. And I'm also going to be using some crystal rondels. Let me just show you those. And we're going to be putting 3 of them between each bead. So let's go 3 of those, a blue round, 3 of them again, and then a purple, and then just so on through the stringing process. Okay, and I might actually only do 2 because that's a fairly large gap. So anyway, you can see all the components, and so I'm just going to continue stringing, and then when I'm finished up, I'll show you how to finish the end, and you'll be able to see the pattern that I have done. Okay, so I finished up the necklace. Now we just want to do the end. So you're going to take a charlotte crimp and pop that on, and then a crimp, slide that on too, and then just lift up the necklace to make sure that you let gravity push the crimp and the charlotte crimp down as far as they're supposed to go, and then press nice and hard in there to make sure that the crimp gets squished properly, and give it a little pull. See if it gives. If it doesn't, that's excellent. Give it a snip and close up your charlotte crimp. Grab a jump ring, whoops, just dropped the jump ring. Let me get another one quickly. They're so tiny. There we go. Open that up, slide your clasp on, and pop your jump ring through your charlotte crimps loop and close, and your necklace will be done. So I'll just show you that just a second what it looks like. And there we are. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Let me zoom you out quickly so you can see what it looks like. You'll be able to see photos and things at the beginning of the tutorial, but that is basically the tutorial. You can skip out these large beads, and you could actually make an entire necklace out of these really small ones, and that would look quite cute. And I just noticed 2 mistakes. You can see that I accidentally have strung on 4, so I'll go back and quickly change that up, but you can see basically what the necklace looks like. So I'm going to go change that quickly, and I'll show you what it looks like when I fix it. There we are, fixed it. So yeah, I can make little mistakes like that, but they're easily fixed. So anyway, as I was saying, that's basically it for this project. You can skip out these larger beads and just use these smaller beads to create a necklace if you wanted to. You could make a bracelet, you could make earrings, you could use this technique to make coasters if you wanted to. There's lots of things that you could do with these techniques I've shown, so do play around with it. You can use all sorts of colour combinations, so don't be afraid to play around with that as well. And let me know what you thought of this tutorial in the comments if you are watching this on Patreon, and if you're watching this on Etsy, then you can let me know on Facebook if you like. I always love hearing what you guys have to say about my tutorials, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.